Hello friends, welcome back to this design of steel structures session. So in this session, as discussed at the end of wind analysis lecture, here I will be sharing with you how to prepare a table to calculate design and check load. So when you start analyzing any truss, at the end you will be getting some member forces. So in previous videos we have seen how to calculate magnitudes of forces, member forces of a truss. Now whatever method of analysis you are using, be it method of joints, be it method of sections or a graphical method, at the end of that you have to proceed with this table. Now what does this table? So this table gives you the final value of design load and check load, which is to be used for design of particular member. When you are designing a particular member, so this value, that is last two columns, will be directly used for that purpose. I will explain you this table. And the first, this gives you idea about different members. So when you plot your truss, so that time you will be getting idea about different members. So you have to list down all the members, then you have to group them in different types of sub members like main tie. So this is bottom chord member or main tie member, which is under tension under the action of gravity loads. Then L1, U2, L2, L3. So these are slings. Slings are nothing but internal tension members, means be it inclined or vertical, whatever be uh, the member depending on configuration of truss. So internal tension members are categorized as slings. Then next subcategory or group will be of principal rafter elements, which is top chord member, and these members are under the action of compressive forces when the truss is subjected to gravity loads. And finally strut. Now strut is nothing but internal compression member. Again, it can be vertical or inclined member depending on configuration of a roof truss. When you analyze the trusses for unit loads, be it gravity load or wind load, so after that you are getting certain values of member forces. Whatever method of analysis you are using, friends, it doesn't matter. At the end of that analysis, so you have to enter the member force values due to unit gravity load under this column. So when you are applying unit load, that is 1 kilonewton in interior panel point load, so because of that whatever member forces are developed, those are to be listed in this column in front of respective member. So for L0, L1, L1, L2, L2, L3, all these values will be positive because tension is assumed to be positive. So as per sign convention, tension forces or tensile forces are assumed to be positive. So under this, all the values will be positive. Then you have to enter values for slings as well, and for principal rafter these values will be negative because principal rafter and strut is subjected to compression, and according to sign convention we are assuming compressive forces to be negative in nature. Now this second column is for member force due to actual dead load. Actual dead load means what? So after doing calculation, whatever interior panel point dead load you are getting, at interior panel whatever dead load value you are getting, that actual dead load will be considered here. So column 1, so whatever value you are getting in front of L0, L1 under the column 1, so that value multiplied by actual dead load, that value will be entered in this column 2. So again this value will be positive, this will be positive, this will be negative, and this will be negative as well. So mind well, this column number 2 you will be getting after multiplying column number 1 values with actual dead load. Now what is actual dead load? So it is the actual panel point, interior panel point dead load value you are getting after load calculation step in roof truss design. So whatever value you are getting of actual dead load, so once you multiply it to that column 1, so whatever column 2 thereafter you are getting, that gives you value of member force in various members due to applied dead load or due to dead load acting on that particular roof truss. The next column, column number 3, this value you will be getting after multiplying column number 1 values with actual live load. So after following the steps of IS 875 part 2, whatever actual live load you could arrive at, so that actual live load value multiplied by column number 1 values, that will give you values to be enlisted in column number 3. So similar to previous two columns, for main tie and slings, the values will be positive, and for principal rafter and strut, these values will be negative. And the fourth column is for wind analysis. Again, as I discussed in last video, when you apply uplift pressure, when you apply uplift wind load on the structure, that is the wind load acting away from the roof truss, that too if you apply unit wind load, whatever member force values are getting, those are to be listed in this column number 4. Mind well, that force can be uplift or suction. There are two possibilities of that, for uplift or it can be suction. So these are the two possible directions of net wind pressure, either uplift or suction. Now friends, if it is a suction force, in that case the nature will be exactly reverse. The nature of member forces will be exactly reverse, because the members will be subjected to stress reversal. Means what? This main tie member, which was under tension due to gravity loads, it will be subjected to tensile force, or the nature of force developed in that main tie member will be exactly reverse, and it will be of compression nature when the suction, sorry, uplift pressure is applied. When uplift wind load is acting, in that case there will be stress reversal taking place, and the members which are earlier in tension will be experiencing compression, and compressive member forces will change to tension. Whereas if your truss is subjected to suction pressure, if it is subjected to suction pressure or suction wind, means if the wind load is acting towards the roof truss, or in calculation of panel point wind load where you are using CPE minus CPI value, if that net CPE minus CPI value appears to be positive, that indicates the truss is subjected to suction pressure. Means what? The arrow will be acting towards the roof truss, and in that case there won't be such stress reversal experienced, and the nature of force will be as it is, as like in case of gravity loads. Means compressive members will remain compressive members, tensile members will remain tensile members. So this precaution you have to take when you are analyzing your trusses, and subsequently when you are going for design. So when there will be suction, when there will be uplift, so it depends on the net wind pressure value, that is CPE minus CPI. If it is negative, then the trusses will be subjected to uplift pressure. Uplift pressure leads to stress reversal. Whereas if that CPE minus CPI appears to be positive, in that case it will be subjected to suction pressure. Arrows of load should be towards the roof truss, and the members will not be subjected to stress reversal. Fine friends. Then this next column number 5, so this you will get after multiplying this column number 4 entries with actual wind load. So whatever be wind load value, that wind load value you have to multiply with column number 4 entries to get the value. So similar to column number 4, this can be either negative or positive depending on whether it is a suction pressure or uplift pressure. So this is how this first 5 columns of this table are to be prepared. Now once you are ready with this 5 columns of the table, the latter phase is to go for load combination. So there are several load combination, but out of those, so these are 3 load combinations which, as far as this syllabus of design of steel structure at graduation level is concerned, so these 3 load combinations will be preferred, and these are taken from IS 875. These are taken from IS 800 2007. These are taken from IS 800 2007, table number 4. Table number 4. So partial safety factor for load. The table is there, and from that table only these load combinations are derived. So what are those? So 1.5 dead load plus live load, then 1.2 dead load plus live load plus wind load, and last one is 1.5 dead load plus wind load. Now for dead load and live load, here you have to refer column number 2 and column number 3, and for wind load you have to refer column number 5. So this column number 5 is to be referred for that particular load combination wind part. So wind load part, whatever wind load values WL you have to take, those are to be taken from column number 5. Those are to be taken from column number 5. So this is how you will be getting multiple values for design loads. So this load combination, so there are different members. Say in principal rafter there are 3 members, for main tie there are 3 members. No doubt slings and strut, those are individual members, but for main tie and principal rafter, either you can prefer one continuous member or discontinuous member. So here you are getting round about 9 values: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9 values you are getting for main tie. Now out of these 9 values, some will be positive, some will be negative. So out of these values, the maximum positive value will be taken as design load. Will be taken as design load. Why so? Because this main tie member is basically a tension member. Main tie member is basically a tension member. For most of its lifespan, it will be subjected to tension only. Only when uplift wind pressure is acting for that much duration only, under the action of stress reversal, this member is going to subjected to maximum negative, that is compressive. So that's why the member which is subjected to tension under the action of gravity forces will be designed as tension member, and it will be checked for compression, because for some time definitely it will be subjected to compression, and for that much duration that member has to sustain compressive forces. That's why simultaneously it has to satisfy those checks as well. So friends, when you are designing main tie and sling, you have to design it as a tension member, and you have to check it for compression. So that's why out of these 9 values, maximum positive will be taken as design load, whereas maximum negative will be taken as check. So this member will be designed as a tension member for this maximum positive value. Simultaneously, it has to satisfy the check of maximum compressive force. Similarly, when you are designing principal rafter and strut, you are getting definite 9 values again for principal rafter. and out of these 9 values, whichever is maximum negative, that is going to be your design load, and maximum positive is going to be check. Why so? Similar to tension member, the compression member has to sustain compressive forces throughout the lifespan only when it is subjected to uplift wind, predominant action of uplift wind pressure. During that during that period, the member will be subjected to stress reversal, and it has to sustain tension as well. That's why it will be designed as a compression member. Simultaneously it will be checked for tension. So this is how you have to develop these design load values and check load values for main tie, slings, principal rafter and strut. Now once you are ready with this design load and check load values, then you can proceed for the design. So this design will be usual only thing you have to take care of, that you have to satisfy check load as well. Means for tension member you have to check for compression, for compression member you have to check for tension. Friends, I hope you have understood totally this table to calculate design load and check load. Thank you very much for patience listening. I hope you are enjoying these video lectures. Thank you once again. We'll meet in next video. Thank you.